Part 84. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 831. The latest chapter of the Wanchaiwu I Created is updated the fastest. As the boy wrote the 3 words I do, the contract burned again. The power of the strange nature entangled him. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. At the same time, a force rushed into his body along the contract. This force quickly washed every muscle, bone, and internal organs in his body. His muscles and bones changed at an alarming speed. The pain hit his mind, making him extremely uncomfortable. He felt like his whole body was crushed and recast. Finally, he suddenly felt a burst of all over his body, and then he felt countless forces appearing in his body. The muscles are so strong, like steel and iron bones. At the same time, a piece of martial arts information has appeared in his consciousness. This martial arts information was memorized by him, as clear as if it was engraved in his mind. At this time, he unconsciously began to gesture according to this martial arts information, and then he was surprised to find that his body seemed to have practiced this martial arts method for thousands of years, and he was so skilled that it seemed like instinct. He didn't know that Lin Yi had used spiritual energy to temper his body through the contract, and tempered it completely according to the practice order of the method. That's why he felt as if he had practiced for thousands of years. Feeling his own strength, the boy's eyes showed amazing murderous intent, and he rushed out of the alley excitedly. He began to track the 2 people who attacked him. As his physical strength increased, his 5 senses also made great progress. Especially his sense of smell, he smelled the clothes stained with his blood. He rushed up in the direction where the smell disappeared. About 5 minutes later, he found a dilapidated house and heard 2 huge quarrels inside. It seemed that they were quarreling over the distribution of gold. At this time, a ferocious smile had already appeared on the boy's face. His body had become very strong in the transformation just now, reaching a height of 2 meters. Although his body was tattered, his tight muscles made him look very strong. Without any hesitation, he kicked the door. Boom! The door was knocked open, and he rushed in and saw the 2 people who almost killed him just now, and the gold bricks they put on the table. His eyes were red, and he rushed up with great anger, and then he punched them with his iron fist. These 2 people were just ordinary gangsters. Facing a martial arts master who had perfected the first stage, there was no resistance at all. Crack! Bang! With 2 muffled sounds and the sound of broken bones, they fell directly to the ground, spitting blood foam from their mouths, twitching all over and motionless. The boy killed someone, but he was not panicked at all. He looked around and then saw a wardrobe. He walked over, picked out the loosest set from it and put it on, and at the same time took a bag and put all the gold on the table into it. Without looking back, he quickly left here. In the night, his figure disappeared in the distance like a ghost. At this time, these scenes of adventure are constantly happening in every corner of the world. Too many people use their lives, talents, and wealth to exchange for power, wealth, life, and talent. A huge cycle is being created. Lin Yi is using the wish shrine to collect all kinds of things, and at the same time, he exchanges these things with others in the form of price difference. He is a complete middleman, without paying any price. The reason why this effect can be produced is that a month of killing mutated corpses has made the weird items of all things undergo a qualitative change. This change has promoted a significant improvement in ability. Once the note of the wish shrine falls anywhere, it will be obtained by people who are full of desire, and then connected to Lin Yi. Lin Yi can use the power of the contract to remotely send what he has mastered, such as power, life, or talent, wealth, etc., to the other party. The effect of the change of the wish shrine is very amazing. And the note is selective in choosing the trading person. Because Lin Yi's will is to choose people who are willing to exchange these same four things with wealth, life, talent, and money. Because he can complete the transactions in these four directions alone, he does not need other bounty hunters. This kind of transaction is more like doing business. With the spiritual will of Lin Yi's Tianxiandao body, he can coordinate and calculate all transactions without being in a hurry. The future positioning of bounty hunters is to deal with those complicated tasks that cannot be simplified. However, in the future, Lin Yi will hand over this kind of transaction of the wish shrine to the human immortal Dao clone to handle. The Tianxiandao body concentrates on cultivation. And this time, the improvement of all the strange items in the Wanchaiwu has made the Wanchaiwu accumulate resources faster. In a daytime experiment, Lin Yi scattered tens of thousands of notes, and these tens of thousands of notes have been transformed into resources. The lifespan in exchange reached 50,000 years, more than 1,000 kinds of talents, and various precious gem necklaces, gold and silver are countless. A large number of treasures are piled up on the first floor of the underground maze, which has completely become a treasure house. These materials can basically only be regarded as basic materials. But in Lin Yi's hands, these materials can become higher value items as long as they are properly operated. For example, they can be refined into various general magic tools that can be activated by any force. The cycle of the Wanchaiwu is gradually being established and improved. A trace of joy rose in his heart. It was 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. The strange magic cube was undergoing the final change, and the hazy mist surrounding the strange magic cube began to be slowly absorbed into it. A very strange wave, with the strange magic cube as the core, spread to the entire Wanchaiwu. At this time, the Wanchaiwu was shrouded in ripples, as if it was in another world. Gradually, looking at the Wanchaiwu from the outside world, it seemed to be more and more illusory, as if it was going to disappear from this world. All those who were monitoring the Wanchaiwu from the outside world discovered this change. But something even stranger happened. The Wanchaiwu kept changing in the disappearance and illusory flashes, and every time it disappeared. All those who knew the Wanchaiwu would be stunned suddenly, because they completely forgot the existence of the Wanchaiwu. When the Yorozui appears, the memories related to the Yorozui will return to their minds. This change caused shock to all the outside observers. Because they are the people who face this phenomenon directly, far away from other places. They don't know, nor do they realize that their memories are constantly missing and appearing. These observers want to pass on the message. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 832. The frequency of the Wanchaiwu flashing became higher and higher, and they were too late to make any moves. Accompanied by the high-frequency vibration, the next moment, the Wanchaiwu disappeared from its original position. At this moment, all the information about the Wanchaiwu in the world also disappeared at the same time. It was as if he had never appeared. Whether it was ordinary people, or those Tianxiandao level strongmen, or even those who had done business with the Wanchaiwu, they had lost the memory of the Wanchaiwu. This extremely strange scene did not attract anyone's attention. At this time, Lin Yi's face was also a little stunned, because the Wanchaiwu seemed to be no longer on the blue star. Everything happened so suddenly, without any signs. Originally, leaving the blue star should have been a good thing, but now Lin Yi was not happy, but frowned. Because the outside was a familiar scene. It was a strange world filled with thick gray fog. At this time, his will connected the entire Wanchaiwu, and he noticed a huge mistake. This time it was not the window or the door that connected to the strange existence of the other world. But the Wanchaiwu really appeared in the other world, which was very incredible. At this time, he saw the strange magic cube, which had undergone an amazing change, from the original square to a sphere. This sphere is composed of dozens of tiny faces, each of which flashes different colors. The strange fluctuations it emits cover the entire Wanchaiwu, which is why the Xuanhuan enters the alien world. The sudden abnormal change alarmed all the bounty hunters in the Xuanhuan. Except for Shen Wuifang, who was not here tonight, everyone else felt the abnormality in the air. The strange atmosphere that cannot be described in words filled the entire Xuanhuan, and an inexplicable coldness made everyone tremble instinctively. Even Sakuramiya surely felt a sense of suffocation. In this world, there is no spiritual energy, only pure strange atmosphere. She can feel that the strange atmosphere outside this room is more terrifying than the strange atmosphere in the room, and it seems to be essentially different. A few steps to the lobby of the Xuanhuan, looking at Lin Yi standing by the window. Lin Yi, what's going on? The Xuanhuan seems to have moved. Lin Yi nodded, yes, the Xuanhuan has indeed moved. It's very strange, it seems to have entered a strange world. Let everyone cheer up, maybe we will have a hard battle tonight. Sakuramiya Shirley's face condensed slightly, I know. Her face was gloomy, and a thought informed everyone in the Xuanhuan in an instant. Even Lao Wei's sun was brought down. The atmosphere tonight was unusual. Lao Wei was worried about leaving his son alone in the bedroom. All the combat power in the Xuanhuan gathered in the lobby. After a month of fighting, everyone received a lot of contribution points. They also exchanged a lot of resources from Lin Yi, which greatly improved their combat power. Lin Yi has two kinds of power in his hands, which can quickly improve combat power. One is abyssization, and the other is perfect divine body. Both powers are open to them. At this time, Sakuramiya Shirley has completed the first stage of the perfect divine body, and 108 talents are gathered in her body. She has reached the level of half-step heavenly immortals. In the whole Xuanhuan, she is the strongest except Lin Yi. Among the others, Lao Wei, vodka, and whiskey all chose to become abyssal. Among them, whiskey's power has directly jumped to the level of earthly immortals. Lao Wei and vodka have reached the peak level of ghost immortals. However, the side effect of abyssal transformation is that the three of them look dark and can only rely on special spirits to disguise their appearance. Absinthe swallowed a large number of soul crystals and directly became the top powerhouse that had appeared in his original world, the Great Resentful Spirit King. From the perspective of level alone, it has reached the first level of earthly immortals, and there is almost no bottleneck. As for Lafite red wine, it also reached the peak level of ghost immortals by swallowing souls. Even Sakuramiya Shirley's grandfather and his head maid have broken through to the ghost immortal. The weakest bounty hunter is Jin, but his combat power has also reached the peak of the human immortal path. Even Lao Wei's son has entered the human immortal path level. In just 1 month, everyone's combat power has almost reached a huge step. Brandy received special care from Lin Yi, who opened up a complete and perfect body for him. The combat power of the body directly reached the peak of the Earth Immortal Path. As long as his cultivation level can reach the peak of the Earth Immortal Path, he can directly step into the Heavenly Immortal Path with the perfect divine body. As for Li Hualian, who was resurrected from the dead, he combined the way of Qi and blood, and the Blue Star martial arts directly stepped into the Earth Immortal Path level combat power. All the combat power gathered in the lobby. Everyone looked solemn, and they felt the extremely cold breath from the outside world. All the lights in the Xuanhuan have been turned off, and everyone is waiting quietly. About 10 minutes have passed, and nothing has happened. Lin Yi turned his head and looked at everyone, and said in a calm voice, "Everyone sit here first, the current situation is still unclear. Everyone just stay alert." After hearing Lin Yi's words, everyone found a seat and sat in the Xuanhuan, looking outside with vigilance. Absinthe's voice slowly sounded. "Something is wrong outside. That strange breath is too cold, far beyond the strange breath we usually come into contact with. Lafite red wine, outside is your hometown, right? What's going on?" At this time, everyone's eyes fell on Lafite red wine. The only strange existence from another world in the Xuanhuan. Lafite red wine is different from usual at this time. Because the power level has entered the level of Ghost Fairy, its body shape has also changed. The height has reached about 2 meters, which can be regarded as a small monster. His skin is red, covered with some strange black lines. At this time, he scratched his ears and cheeks, and his whole body looked uncomfortable. The whole expression is filled with a tense, complex, and weird expression. Seeing his appearance, Absinthe looked at him with a smile. "What are you doing? Like a monkey? I'm asking you a question." Lafite red wine didn't even look at Absinthe's provocative words when he heard it. He kept his eyes on the window, and he spoke after a long while. "The Xuanhuan has indeed entered a strange place. Outside is where the real strangeness gathers. Tell me what the characteristics of the strange place are." Lin Yi looked at Lafite red wine calmly and asked slowly. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 833. Hearing this, Lafite red wine showed a strange look in his eyes, and said after a long while. "Manager, you should know that I told you before that I forgot a lot of information after I left the strange place." "Yes, you did tell me so." "You mean, have you recovered your memory now?" Lin Yi looked at him thoughtfully. "Yes, my memory has been restored. I think we are in big trouble now." "Why do you say that?" "Because after the Xuanhuan enters the strange world, it will attract the attention of countless strange beings, just like the moon in the dark night. At that time, there will be endless strange beings, constantly appearing here. Do you think you can survive?" A strange smile appeared on Lafite red wine's face. "You will definitely die. There is no other possibility. The strange world is an irresistible disaster for any life form in the void world." Lin Yi heard this and smiled indifferently. "You are just a possibility." "Okay, don't say such alarmist words. If the enemy comes, I will fight him. If the water comes, I will cover it with earth. If there is a strange invasion, I will naturally have a way to deal with it. Now tell me what secrets and information this strange world has. For example, how big is this place, what dangers are usually there? Taboos that need to be paid attention to, etc." Hearing Lin Yi's question, Lafite red wine was silent for a few seconds, and then said calmly. "In a strange world, everything is disordered. All order will go to chaos. Even the race I was born into seems to have established a kingdom, but this order will always collapse every once in a while. Chaos will inexplicably arise internally, leading to the collapse of the tribal kingdom. Race after race, or encounter strange invasions from the outside. Finally, when the chaos is over, the kings will gather the tribes again and rebuild the kingdom. This is one aspect of disorder. Sometimes, there will be disordered changes in the places where we live. For example, the area where our race originally lived was a mountainous area full of hills. But once, overnight, the place where we lived became a beach near the sea, and the whole process did not have any power fluctuations or ground vibrations. Everything is as it should be. There are also strange sudden changes, from one form to another. Like me. Do you think I have always been this red-skinned kid?" Everyone looked at him with a hint of astonishment in their eyes. "Weren't you like this before?" Lin Yi looked at him with some surprise. "Of course, this is not my original appearance," Lafite red wine smiled strangely. At this time, he held a cup in his left hand and a bottle of red wine in his right hand, pouring the red wine into the glass. A strange smile flashed on his face, which was an indescribable complexity. He poured the red wine down his throat in one gulp, feeling the deliciousness of the red wine, narrowed his eyes slightly, and seemed to be very intoxicated. Looking at the appearance of Lafite red wine, Absinthe said, "Don't pretend there. Do you think I don't know that you just want to steal wine? Lafite Redwine heard Absinthe's words, and the cup in his hand stiffened slightly. He glanced at him. Haha, I just drink to relieve my sorrow and vent. Do you think everyone is like you? Haha. Absinthe and Lafite Redwine, the two eyes collided with sparks in the void. Looking at the two guys who looked like live treasures, Lin Yi sighed. Okay, stop talking nonsense here. Go on, drink openly if you want to. I won't accept your contribution points today. Lafite Redwine smiled when he heard this. The store manager is the most caring. Lafite Redwine couldn't help but make a strange and charming smile when he heard Lin Yi's words. With his ugly face, everyone shrugged involuntarily, feeling uncomfortable. At this time, Lafite Redwine looked at everyone with brows jumping, knowing that he couldn't mess around anymore, otherwise he would be beaten. He paused, coughed, and said slowly. At first, my skin was black, I was about 1.8 meters tall, and my appearance was very human. But one day, when I woke up from sleep, I found that I had turned into another strange appearance. It was an arthropod that was a bit like a centipede, but I had an upper body. Then I found that not only me, but everyone in our entire race became like this. But fortunately, the power held by our race has not changed. Later, the appearance of our race changed 8 times in succession, and finally became what it is now. Now that I have returned to the strange world again, I have a feeling. My race may no longer be what it is now. Why do you have this judgment? Lin Yi looked at him strangely. The reason is very simple, because there is an inexplicable connection between me and my race. This connection will only disappear after I leave the strange world. When I return to the strange world, this connection will reappear. But now this connection has disappeared. Do you know what this means? You mean, there are no people of the same race as you in the strange world? They have changed. Yes, only this explanation can explain why I can't contact them. Lin Yi smiled and said, but there is another possibility. That is, your race has been completely wiped out. Lafite Redwine was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and then his face was slightly gloomy for a while. Then he showed joy again. Hee, that's a good thing. They won't hunt me anymore. By the way, I have another question. Why would the strong man of your race hunt you? And from the looks of it, he must capture you. Because I ate the sacred object of our race. That sacred object is the only thing that won't change in this strange world. A piece of strange flesh and blood, which is said to be the source of my race. The reason why everyone in a race becomes the same species every time is because of the influence of this sacred object. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 834. The holy object connects us together. We are an individual and a whole. So once there is a change, all of our kind will also have the same mutation. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Lin Yi looked at the Lafite Redwine in front of him with some surprise when he heard this. He had already thoroughly studied the Lafite Redwine itself through the True Destiny solution. It can be said that every cell, every basic molecule, and atomic level structure in it can be seen clearly. But he did not find anything special on the Lafite Redwine. There was no trace of the holy object he had eaten. He couldn't help but doubt the words of the Lafite Redwine. But the contract between him and the Lafite Redwine told him that what the Lafite Redwine said was true. He couldn't help but think, could it be that there are things that cannot be explained in the True Destiny? Looking at Lin Yi's eyes, Lafite Redwine suddenly shuddered. Because this kind of eyes seemed to be dissecting him and cutting him into countless pieces. He looked at Lin Yi and laughed awkwardly twice. Manager, don't look at me like that, I will be shy. As he said this, he hid behind the bar in a wretched manner, looking at Lin Yi with a pair of weird eyes. Lin Yi looked at him and said, in addition to this disordered change, what other precautions are there in the weird world? When Lafite Redwine heard Lin Yi's question, a weird smile appeared on his face. The disorder in the strange world is the biggest danger. Because no one knows when they will become what. It is possible that you are still alive and kicking, but the next moment you will become a lifeless stone. Here, anything incredible can happen. If you want to survive in the strange world, the biggest problem is luck. As for other taboos or precautions, there are really nothing. This is like a desolate world, and it is also like a world where the weak are the prey of the strong. There are dangers everywhere, and it is also possible to be very safe everywhere. Everything is disordered here. Everyone listened to Lafite's words, and a trace of solemnity appeared on their faces. If it is true as the other party said, then their situation is very bad. The Wanchaiwa suddenly appeared here, and no one knew whether the Wanchaiwa could leave again. If not, no one knew what would happen in the future. A huge crisis enveloped everyone's mind. Lin Yi thought about this and said, "It seems that this strange world is really dangerous." At this moment, Lao Wei, who was sitting in the deepest part of the lobby, suddenly stood up and looked outside with vigilant eyes. Everyone was startled by his action, and then turned to look outside. A figure appeared there at some point. It was a very strange figure, with slender limbs, a humanoid body, and a face with only a mouth. The skin was wrinkled and dark, and covered with strange eyes. At this time, he was lying on the window, like a gecko, with his eyes moving, looking at the people in the house strangely. His 5 fingers were on the glass, and you could clearly see the sharp nails and a mouthful of sharp teeth on the palm. Everyone looked at it quietly, and they were not afraid, but very calm. Just looking at it, as if waiting for its next move. The monster slowly opened its mouth, and a dark tongue stretched out from its mouth. The tip of the tongue was a sharp shape formed by several sharp thorns closed. The sharp thorns slowly opened, and there were countless tiny teeth and a cavity inside. The next moment, a strange and sharp roar burst out from the cavity. This sharp roar formed a huge shock wave. The shock wave hit the glass of the Wanchaiwa heavily. But something strange happened. These sound waves hit the glass, causing the entire glass to sag into the Wanchaiwa. The glass stretched like a piece of gummy candy, which was a very strange scene. Seeing this scene, everyone's vigilance suddenly dropped. They have seen this phenomenon countless times. Every time at 12 o'clock in the evening, when the strange existence wants to enter the Wanchaiwa, this distortion phenomenon will occur. I only heard Sakuramiya Shirley's face relax slightly and said, "Is there a space barrier between the Wanchaiwa and the outside world? The Wanchaiwa may not really appear in the weird world. It's just connected with the weird world. A deeper connection than before." When Lin Yi heard this, the light of the true destiny flashed in his eyes. He shook his head slightly and said, "No, it's not that simple. I can see that the outside of the Wanchi house has indeed become a strange world. We have 100% come to a strange place. It's just that the Wanchi house seems to have some connection with the time and space of Blue Star. So this layer of space-time barrier still exists. But the attack of this monster is making this layer of space-time barrier unstable. If the space-time barrier is penetrated, I don't know what kind of impact it will have. So we can't let it continue to attack the space-time barrier. The situation here is unknown. I will do it. You just need to guard the Wanchaiwa." Everyone was shocked when they heard this and answered one after another. "Okay. Yes, manager." Lin Yi's Blue Star clone stood up, and the light of boundless destiny enveloped him. The huge spiritual power descended from the spiritual level and was injected into the Daohan field he condensed. Boundless evil enveloped him, as if to distort all reality. He did not intend to use the power of his celestial immortal body and the human immortal Dao clone. He could not feel any spiritual energy here. Once the power of the body is used, it will not be easy to recover. Although they still have spiritual jade in reserve, the reserve power will be reduced by 1 point. Before figuring out all the situations, he did not intend to consume his power casually. And Blue Star's clone has reached the peak of the God General level at this time, forming a powerful field. The spiritual power is endless, and the simple physical and mental consumption can be easily replenished, which is the most suitable power system for the current situation. Moreover, the spiritual wave can also be injected into the Dao mark system, so that the evil field it emits can produce the power to interfere with reality. Pure spiritual power, with the help of Dao mark, appears in this world, generally has two functions. The first is to absorb energy from the void, thereby attacking at the energy level and interfering with reality. The second is the pure Dao mark field, which interferes with the spirit of living beings through the power of the mind and causes harm to them. And this is also the reason why the existence of the God General level is so powerful. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 835. If you want to use the domain, in the absence of external energy, interfere with the real world and reverse the rules of the world. To truly produce supernatural effects, it is necessary to integrate the Dao mark system, produce a real qualitative change, and complete the construction of the Dao heart, so that you can interfere with reality through the power of the mind and form a real domain that distorts the real world. The integrated Dao mark is called the Dao heart in the world of Blue Star, which is the level of Shenqian Jun. However, Lin Yi injected the Dao mark system through the spiritual wave, which can allow the power of the domain to interfere with reality in advance. Let him have the combat power of Shenqian Jun. In terms of combat power alone, it can already match the power of the Earth Immortal Dao, and the two have their own advantages. The most important thing is that in this strange power, the Blue Star martial arts system is a renewable power. The consumption of spiritual energy will be reduced tenfold. The next moment, the stars moved. Lin Yi, whose body was covered with the true destiny, had already passed through the space-time barrier between the Wanchaiwu and the strange place outside. He came directly to the French window, and his left hand was filled with a twisted evil force field. A light palm slapped the strange being lying in front of the French window. Bang! A slight muffled sound. The evil twisted power directly blasted into the body of this strange being. Then, a terrifying scene happened. This twisted power spread in the body of this strange being. Its body began to twist in irregular shapes. At the same time, countless strange pustules grew on it. These pustules continued to burst, spraying colorful and foul-smelling liquids. In the end, this strange being turned into a pile of ashes in countless pustules. It couldn't even fight back, everything took only 2 seconds. A strange being at the level of Ghost Immortal Dao was destroyed by Lin Yi. A large amount of strange power was absorbed by the Lingbo sphere. It was instantly converted into consumed Lingbo, and the upper limit of the Lingbo sphere was slightly increased. Standing outside the Wanchaiwu, the outside world was an extremely cold world. There was no temperature, as if it was absolute zero. Lin Yi could feel that this coldness was constantly absorbing his heat. The next moment, his domain had covered his whole body, and a trace of spiritual power was injected into it. Then, a black flame covered his whole body, and the hot flame isolated the cold. He had taken back his boundless destiny, and he wanted to feel directly what this strange place was like. What impact would it have on the normal human body? It's cold, there's no air, and ordinary people can only survive for a few minutes here. And there is also an omnipresent strange power that seems to erode everything. In the Wanchi house, everyone has practiced other power systems. As long as there is spiritual energy, the body's balance and consumption can be maintained. It will not die because of the disappearance of air. In a sense, as long as spiritual energy can be absorbed, it has already broken away from the limitations of ordinary mortals. As long as the power in the body has not been exhausted, it will not die. Lin Yi sensed everything in the outside world. In addition to the cold and the lack of air, He also felt a strange power that was affecting him all the time. This power seemed to want to change his mind, body, and even the energy properties in his body. It was so vast and boundless that Lin Yi felt a huge pressure in an instant. But this pressure was invisible and intangible, and it was impossible to feel its essence. And its influence was vague. If you don't check yourself carefully, you can't even detect the existence of this influence. Ordinary people must not stay here for long. Even practitioners can't do that. They can't resist this influence like me. I have Lingbo to protect me at all times. So this influence is ineffective on me. What exactly is Lingbo? It can resist the influence of the weird place. According to Indra and others, there has never been anyone, or power, or the world that is immune to the erosion of weirdness. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Finally, he returned to calmness. Bounty hunters can't survive here. They can only stay in the Wanchai-Wu. After confirming this conclusion, Lin Yi turned around and took a step back to the Wanchai-Wu. He looked at Sakuramiya Shirley and the others. There is indeed another world outside, and it is very dangerous. According to my observation, there is always a strange power there, affecting any normal life form that enters there. If you enter it, it will take at most 1 day, at least 1 hour. You will be transformed into a strange existence. Hearing Lin Yi's conclusion, everyone's face froze. At the same time, a kind of helplessness arose. The bounty hunter in the Wanchai-Wu. Except for Lafite red wine and whiskey, everyone else is a normal life form. It is impossible for them to survive in a strange place for a long time. If the Wanchai-Wu cannot leave here, they can only stay in this house for the rest of their lives. Seeing the slightly worried expressions of the crowd, Lin Yi said slowly, "But everyone doesn't have to worry. We still have the Wish Shrine here, and there is still a way to go to other worlds. At least your practice and life will not be greatly affected." Just as he spoke, the whole Wanchai-Wu shook slightly. Everyone looked outside. Originally, there was a plain there. But now, it has become a mountainous area with countless strange plants growing on the peaks. At this time, not far away, a huge foot was jumping between the peaks and slowly walking towards the Wanchai-Wu. The huge leg fell from the sky and crushed a mountain with 1 foot. Everyone's face changed drastically. The reason for their change of color was that this foot kept lifting and stepping down, and the direction of advancement was coming towards them. At most 1 minute, this huge foot will step on the Wanchai-Wu. Without any hesitation, Lin Yi directly activated a strange item in the Wanchai-Wu. Infinite space. A mysterious wave quickly merged with the surrounding space. A large amount of strange power began to be consumed, and the range of the fusion of infinite space and the world continued to extend. At this time, the huge foot had already reached the sky above the Wanchai-Wu. He stepped down with tremendous force. Everyone felt as if the sky had collapsed. The area covered by this foot reached an astonishing several kilometers. It is conceivable how tall the owner of this foot is, at least hundreds of kilometers in size. This leg is a foot covered with phosphorus armor, with 5 toes, and sharp fingertips, like hooks. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 836. The latest chapter of the Wanchai-Wu I Created is updated the fastest. This is obviously the foot of some kind of terrifying creature. With great power, it instantly submerged the area of several kilometers around the Wanchai-Wu. The entire Wanchai-Wu began to tremble violently the moment this giant foot stepped on it. The huge force came from the outside world, making the entire Wanchai-Wu creak. A huge force spread around with the Wanchai-Wu as the center. This force was transmitted into the surrounding space, and the spatial structure of the strange land took on this force instead of the Wanchai-Wu. The Wanchai-Wu was only a small area compared to this huge foot. Through the French window, what they could see at this time was a huge sunken land. The huge foot slowly lifted up and continued to move towards the distance, without any intention of stopping for a second, accompanied by its original rhythm. At a glance, there were flattened mountains and land everywhere. The owner of this giant foot did not care whether this small Wanchaiwu was destroyed. He did not even notice the abnormality of the Wanchaiwu. Everyone in the Wanchaiwu looked at the huge footsteps that were constantly moving away. They all showed a look of shock on their faces. This scene was enough to shock all of them, the power that seemed like a natural disaster. If it weren't for the wonderful ability of infinite space, the Wanchaiwu might have collapsed directly after the chat just now. Everyone was silent, and a trace of fear flashed in Lafite Redwine's eyes. That's the lost one. Lost one? What is that? Lin Yi looked at Lafite Redwine and asked calmly. I don't know what it is. I only know that it is an existence that cannot be harmed. The lost ones are of various kinds, but they all have a unified image. That is huge, extremely huge. They will walk around in a strange place in confusion and roar in pain. Everything will be destroyed wherever they pass, even the existence that can rival the heavenly immortal Deo. They will be ruthlessly trampled to death in front of them. They are supreme beings that cannot be described in words. Is that so? Then the lost ones are indeed very powerful. The brief contact just now. Lin Yi had already sensed that huge foot, which contained a power he could not resist. It was beyond his imagination, incredible to the extreme. He had never seen that kind of deep and strange power. Even when he used the Wanchaiwu to leave the Red Lotus realm, he saw the huge strange existence guarding outside the Red Lotus realm, which could not match the strange aura. It made him feel a kind of creepy. He looked outside, and they seemed to have experienced a disorder just now. That's why they suddenly came to this area with dense mountains. After coming here, they also encountered this mysterious lost person. The disorder of the strange land made them feel shocked and a little awed from their hearts. At this time, changes began to appear inside the Wanchaiwu. A faint black mist filled all the rooms of the Wanchaiwu, including the underground maze. A large number of strange existences were slowly appearing, and they were tearing the barriers. Like worms, they were trying to get into the Wanchaiwu. Countless snowflakes flashed across the TV in the lobby. It was not turned on, but it was like it was powered on. As the snowflakes flickered, it seemed that something strange was flickering inside. Lin Yi sensed the changes in the entire Wanchaiwu through the strange magic cube. He was not worried about the underground maze, where there were countless maze puppets, including 20 mutant corpses at the level of Earth Immortal Deo. Those strange beings that entered the maze would be cleared as soon as they appeared. A figure in white clothes and disheveled hair was slowly crawling out of the TV. Just like Sadako in the previous movie. This was a strange existence at the level of Ghost Immortal Deo, and its whole body was filled with an unsettling strange aura. The moment it appeared, there was a majestic mental impact that spread to everyone. This mental impact seemed to be able to distort the fear at the bottom of life. At this time, Jin, who had a lower level of cultivation in the Wanchaiwu, and Lao Wei's child, both turned pale, fear began to appear in their eyes, and their faces were slightly distorted. When Lao Wei saw this scene, he immediately became angry in his heart, shouted angrily, and a golden glow came out of his body. Like a supreme sword immortal, a magic weapon sword on his waist was unsheathed. In an instant, the sword was in front of the strange existence, trying to pierce its head. Old Wei would not allow anyone to threaten his son. He was angry and directly showed all his strength. He practiced the skills of an ancient school in the Red Lotus realm. The way of the sword immortal. That was the real sword that broke all laws, the way of the ancient sword immortal. Holding a sword, with murderous intent in mind. This way of the sword immortal and the way of the sword immortal in later generations are two different forms. The way of the sword immortal in later generations is to refine the magic weapon as the natal flying sword, and the flying sword penetrates everything. The way of the ancient sword immortal, however, is to hold a sword. The sword technique is divine, evolve everything, destroy everything, and the sword performs the world. The ancient sword immortal is to seek the way. The sword immortal today is closer to destruction and destruction. Both have their merits and purposes. Old Wei swung his sword in front of this strange creature. The strange being turned over and dodged the oncoming sword. Its body shape was very different from that of a human body, and it flashed across the ground like a reptile. But unfortunately, it moved in the direction of Whiskey. Whiskey had already completed the abyss at this time, and the whole thing was in a dark state. There was not even a trace of its shape, like charcoal, standing in the darkness, just like darkness itself. This strange being did not notice him at all. Seeing the strange being rushing towards him, Whiskey instinctively kicked out. A kick as fast as lightning, with an extremely dark power. Boom! The power of the kick directly kicked the strange being on the spot. There was no luck, and it was simply kicked in half. At the same time, the terrifying dark power rushed into his broken limbs. The next moment, his broken limbs were covered by the black power and eventually turned into ashes. After killing this strange being, everyone frowned slightly. Since entering Blue Star, this is the first time that a strange existence of the Ghost Immortal Dao level has entered. In other words, the strange atmosphere in the Wanchaiwu has recovered, even surpassing the level of the Red Lotus realm. Everyone felt a huge sense of crisis. After all, when there are strange existences, it is never too careful. At this time, a strange whooshing sound suddenly appeared outside. Everyone's attention was once again attracted by the situation outside. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 837. Seeing outside, everyone's face changed slightly. Countless strange beings appeared there. All of them were humanoid beings with 8 arms and legs, and they crawled like spiders. There was a huge mouth on the front of the face, and you could see that it was full of fine teeth. There were 6 eyes on the upper part of the face, all of which were dark green, exuding a kind of frightening viciousness. Just seeing it, the spirit seemed to be affected. At a glance, there were dense crowds everywhere, thousands of them, rushing steadily towards the Wanchaiwu. Obviously they were attracted by the Wanchaiwu. Seeing this scene, everyone was instantly horrified, and the crisis was approaching. At this moment, Lin Yi frowned and directly activated the second defensive strange object in the Wanchaiwu. The Crown of Destruction. This extremely terrifying strange object can confuse the thinking of all creatures within the coverage range, and eventually lead them to self-destruction. In the Wanchaiwu, on the roof, a circle of extremely terrifying mysterious fluctuations broke out instantly. This estimated power radiated thousands of meters around, and a wave that distorted all spirits, wills, thoughts and even instincts covered this area. In an instant, all the strange crawling beings that filled this area stiffened. Then, they completely fell into madness and began to attack each other. Outside the Wanchi house, it turned into a bloody quagmire in an instant. These strange beings fought and devoured each other without any reason. Under the power of the Crown of Destruction, there was no resistance at all. Seeing this scene, everyone in the Wanchi house breathed a sigh of relief. If the Wanchi house faced the impact of so many terrifying strange beings, no one knew how long it could last. After all, these strange beings, from a distance, they also looked like ghost immortals. Thousands of strange beings piled up into a mountain, killing each other crazily within a radius of a kilometer. There was no sound of coldness, only broken arms and limbs flying, black blood flying, and the sound of chopping and tearing. These scenes made everyone feel the cold cruelty. However, they are all people who have experienced great storms. Except for Jin and Lao Wei's son, everyone else is accustomed to this kind of scene. At this time, Sakura Mia surely frowned and said, What should we do next? We won't be trapped here forever, right? If the Yorozwaya is trapped here forever, we can only go to other worlds for a short stay through the Wish Shrine. Sakuramiya surely said with a serious face. Lin Yi frowned. He was studying the strange magic cube that had undergone a new change. He wanted to determine what force caused this phenomenon. The Yorozwaya fell into silence again. All the strange existences that entered the Yorozwaya through the space-time barrier would be pulled into the maze by the maze puppet for processing. The hall is now very safe and very quiet. Everyone silently watched the brutal fight outside, without stopping for a moment. And at this moment, the scenery outside the window changed again. They came to a beach by the sea. A few hundred meters away in the distance was an endless black sea. The sea, which was endless, was deep and dark, and no one knew what was hidden. Seeing this scene, everyone was slightly surprised and didn't know what was happening. At the same time, Lin Yi slowly withdrew the power of infinite space and the crown of destruction. Everyone looked at the sea outside through the French windows. Is it caused by disordered changes again? Of course, the weird world is full of disorder, and no one knows what it will become in the next moment. Lafite Redwine had a weird smile on his face, full of nostalgia, and seemed to be gloating. It seemed to have forgotten that he was also on this ship. No one paid attention to Lafite Redwine's gloating, and everyone's heart was slightly dignified. How terrifying the weirdness is, they have already seen it clearly. Now everyone has landed in this weird place, and everyone has worries in their hearts, not knowing what the future will be like. At this moment, a golden light suddenly flashed on the sea. This brilliance instantly attracted everyone's attention. The weird existence is mainly red, gray, black, and green. They have never seen the golden weird existence before. Everyone looked at the sea surface with vigilance, and changes also appeared on the sea surface at this time. A terrifying, huge sea monster-like creature rose from the ocean. Countless hideous tentacles were grabbing the golden figure in the sky. One claw after another seemed to tear everything apart. Wherever the huge tentacles passed, time and space seemed to be distorted. When everyone in the Wanchai saw this scene, they all took a breath of cold air. Involving the power of time and space, it means that even the existence of the Tianxiandao level cannot ignore this attack. Unless it reaches the cosmic light tribulation and is immune to the constraints of energy, matter, time, and space, it is possible to block this attack. At this time, the golden existence, intercepted by countless huge tentacles, rushed left and right. It was as flexible as a mosquito, dodging various attacks. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The terrifying black light shot out from the bottom of the sea, densely blocking countless airspaces. Let the existence of this golden light dodge space smaller and smaller. But in the next moment, it made hundreds of turns in the sky. In the glorious turning point, golden shadows were left behind, which amazed everyone on Wanchi roof. Even Lin Yi felt that if he encountered such a dense radiant blockade, it is absolutely impossible to accurately grasp every gap like this golden light and get through without any damage. But it can be seen that this golden existence is completely at a disadvantage. It can only escape and has no ability to fight. At this time, this golden existence seemed to notice Wanchaiwu on the beach. With great speed, he kept approaching the house of everything. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi frowned slightly. Everyone is awe-inspiring. This golden existence is obviously some kind of mysterious and powerful life form. Maybe it's not a weird creature. This golden existence flew out of the sea. After passing through the last blockage of black light and tentacles, in an instant, he landed in front of the door of Wanchaiwu house. The huge force smashed a huge hole in the beach in front of the gate of Wanchi house. A golden figure stood there. He was wearing a golden armor, with black hair tied on his head. The long hair was fluttering slightly under the huge wind pressure. He was holding a golden spear in his hand. The ground with spears seemed to be supporting him. The house of everything I created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 838. Looking closely, you can see that the man's face is pale and there is a big hole in his chest armor. You can even see the body that has been pierced, and even the heart is exposed. There are some golden substances on the wound of the body, blocking the bleeding of the wound. However, you can see that the heart in the hole is beating slightly, and the man's internal organs are all golden. At this time, the man seemed to have lost consciousness and his whole body was stiff. He stood straight in front of the ticket of the Wanchaiwu, like a god of war, standing even in death. In this strange world, a human being was seen, and he looked seriously injured, which was very strange no matter how you looked at it. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Everyone in the Wanchaiwu looked at Lin Yi, quietly waiting for him to give orders. Lin Yi. Save him, Sakura Miyaswili said with a slightly solemn face. There must be a reason why this person appeared in the strange place. Maybe we can know more about the strange place, and we must save him. After saying that, he had already opened the door of the Wanchaiwu and walked out. The True Destiny Unlimited unfolded, and he was in front of the man in front of him in one step. After approaching, he could clearly feel that the fire of life of this person was quickly extinguished. But he naturally exuded an unyielding, fearless belief and will. The power in his body was fighting against the invasion of the strange forces around him. But a trace of strange aura kept flashing, like a thorn in the bone, constantly breaking the remaining power of this person and invading his body. It can be seen with the naked eye that black is slowly appearing on his skin. Lin Yi frowned slightly, took a step forward, raised his hand and slapped him on the body. The majestic spiritual wave, like waves, covered his whole body. The strange power that invaded his body, just like the spring snow, melted directly and dissipated invisible. Lin Yi lifted the man up and pulled him back to the Wanchaiwu. In the lobby of the Wanchaiwu, Lin Yi laid the man flat on the ground. His human immortal clone appeared in front of him and squatted down slightly. In his hand, a majestic dark golden, chaotic energy rushed into the man's body. At the same time, the True Destiny solution had seen through every corner of the man's body. All the power in his body was visible at a glance. And the power of the human immortal clone also changed under the power of the True Destiny source. It became a power that was completely the same as this man's. This power was madly injected into the other party's body, driving the power in the other party's body, and naturally began to circulate. The original almost dry power recovered at an astonishing speed. The wounds on his body were also rapidly growing granulations, connecting with each other, and finally covering all the positions. The man's physical condition quickly returned to normal, a complete person. The next moment, Lin Yi cut off the supply of power. The man's body has fully recovered without any injuries, but the energy in his body has also been exhausted. Even if he wakes up, his physical strength alone will not exceed the level of the human immortal. At this level, he can be easily controlled. Lin Yi pulled off a cloth bag from the man. This is a space equipment with quite a lot of items in it. Under Lin Yi's True Destiny, these things cannot be hidden at all. However, Lin Yi did not take out the things inside, at least he had to wait until the man woke up. After all, saving his life also costs money. Outside, the huge monster that emerged from the deep sea has sunk into the sea water and disappeared completely. It seems that the monster does not intend to go ashore to continue chasing. The Wanchaiwu fell into a brief calm. About an hour later, the man lying on the ground woke up. His eyes were full of confusion, and he didn't know what happened. The next moment, he suddenly sat up and took a fighting posture. Then, he saw Lin Yi and everyone in the Wanchaiwu. He was stunned for a moment, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. He saw his kinkan bag and his weapons, all placed on a table in front of the French window. A man in strange clothes sat next to the table. He felt a strong breath from the man, but it was only at the level of the earthly immortal Deo. Did you save me? The man felt his completely healthy body and was secretly surprised. He sent out a thought to ask. He knew very well how much he was injured, and in the end he tried his best to reach the land. But he knew that his state at that time might become weird. But the other party could actually heal him, which was extraordinary. He knew very well that he was injured by the weirdness, and if he wanted to repair this kind of injury, he had to remove the weird power first. But removing the weird power was not an easy task. I saved you. Who told you to fall in front of my house? Lin Yi responded lightly with a spirit. In front of your house. The man was stunned for a moment, and then looked outside in disbelief. Only then did he notice that outside was the strange sea where he was severely injured. Thinking of this, he took a breath and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. You live in a strange place. Before asking others questions, should I introduce myself first? Lin Yi looked at him and smiled faintly. The two of them had been using their minds and spirits to answer questions, because they were all from different worlds and their languages were completely different. Direct communication through thoughts was the most convenient. The man stood up from the ground and took a deep breath. He touched his chest with his right hand and nodded to Lin Yi gently to express his gratitude, a courtesy from another world. First of all, thank you for saving me. Introduce yourself. My name is Woody, the captain of the 35th team of the 47th branch of the Void Destiny Committee, the Weird Operations Department. Level, out of bounds level. Hearing this, everyone in the Wanchaiwu was stunned. Out of bounds level, just a captain. This series of information shocked them instantly. They naturally knew what the out of bounds level represented, that is, the existence that can freely travel from one world to another. Although their power may not be the strongest, they can reach the lowest level of Earth immortals. Because if you want to survive in the void, only the existence of the level of Earth immortal Deo can completely get rid of the limitations of mortal life. The level of Earth immortal Deo has already deviated from the most basic life structure. The man in front of him is invincible, and he was born in some Void Destiny Committee, the Weird Operations Department, the 47th branch, and the captain of the 35th team. This long list of titles shows that his identity is extraordinary. Lin Yi's eyes flickered, and his heart moved slightly. An organization in the void dares to use destiny as its name. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 839. It's called the Department of Bizarre Operations, but it seems to have a huge background no matter how you sound. I dare say the confrontation is strange, but the strength of the organization behind it is probably a bit astonishing. And they seem to have a few tricks up their sleeves to come to this weird place. Thinking of this, he looked at Ren Wudi in front of him and said, "Hello, Your Excellency Ren Wudi. This is the house of all things, a place where most people's wishes can come true. You fell in front of the door of the House of Everything. Because this is a weird place, and a non-weird life form appears, I'm very interested. So, when I saw you were seriously injured, I rescued you. In exchange for saving you, I hope to get some information from you. I wonder if you have any opinions." Listening to Lin Yi's words, Ren Wudi's eyes flashed slightly. Of course there's no problem. As long as it doesn't involve confidential information, I can tell you. At this time, Ren Wubai has no strength in his whole body. In this strange world, it is very difficult to restore strength. It requires special means to do it. Although they had been prepared since they arrived in the strange place, his kinkan bag was taken away and there was nothing he could do. Moreover, the group of people in the lobby in front of him all seemed to be untouchable, so he naturally chose wisely to agree to Lin Yi's request. There wasn't even any rebuttal or hesitation. People are like swordsmen and fish, and those who know the current affairs are heroes. This is universal in any world. Hearing Renwudi's answer, Lin Yi nodded and thought, quite smart. Are you an organization that specializes in dealing with weird things? Renwudi nodded, yes. We are an organization composed of powerful beings in the void, specially designed to deal with the strange invasion, involving more than 300 forces. It includes the Void Destiny Committee composed of large forces such as the Soul Realm, Infinite Hell, Immortal Palace, and the Temple of Destiny. The committee members are located in the Void, with a Void City built by the major forces as their base. I was selected this time to be the leader of the team dedicated to exploring strange places. Team leader, does that mean there are others? Yes, but we were attacked after we arrived, and I and other team members were separated. Having said this, Renwudi's face showed a trace of solemnity and dejection. What is your purpose of exploring this strange place? The purpose of the Void Destiny Committee is to repel weirdness and protect the world of countless voids. Exploring weird places is a regular option, in order to learn more about weird secrets. It's just that this process is very dangerous. Most of the teams that enter will suffer heavy casualties. You won't keep exploring like this for no reason. I don't think anyone knows that they will die, so they will come again. Lin Yi was keenly aware of the problem. These people must have a special purpose. Hearing this, Renwudi's expression became slightly silent. After thinking for a while, he slowly spoke. We have a purpose in being here. Tang established a frontline base in a place of national interest. At the same time, the powers and tools developed by the Void Destiny Committee are specially designed to deal with weird things. Experiments are conducted in this weird place to observe the effects. Hearing this, Lin Yi frowned slightly. From these words, he vaguely realized that the Void Destiny Committee might be at a disadvantage in the war with weird. Because so far, they are still looking for ways to completely resist the weirdness. There is not even a way to establish an outpost in the land of deception. It is completely in a state where others can invade you, but you cannot counterattack. Thinking of this, he frowned slightly. In other words, you are completely in a state of being beaten. When Renwudi heard this, he opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but in the end he said nothing. Yes, we are still in a passive state of being beaten. Countless people sacrifice themselves every moment to protect the void. The fighting on the front lines is very intense. All the adults who are infinitely close to the eternal level are studying the weirdness with all their strength. I want to crack the strange power. How did you get in? Lin Yi continued to ask. Renwudi did not hide it, we are in a state of being beaten all the time now. But there's also been a lot of research into the weird. We have also obtained some items that contain strange powers. As long as these items are used properly, they can open the door to the weird. That's how we got here. Lin Yi nodded slowly after hearing these contents. Ta ta ta. Lin Yi's right hand slowly tapped the table, and he was thinking about the information contained in these words. In other words, many forces in the void have united together. A united front was formed, a weird invasion at a low level. And it's taking a huge toll every moment. What will be the consequences if I let them know that my spiritual waves can truly eliminate weirdness? If it were me, I would definitely do whatever it takes to seize this power. First of all, I will never reveal the cultivation method of the true fate. Unless I master the fundamental characteristics of the true fate in the future, I can deduce the seventh true fate and truly live forever in the world. Otherwise, I cannot leak any information. It seems that I have to be cautious in contacting this Void Fate Committee. Thinking of this, Lin Yi looked at Renwudi. Okay, I have already known the information I want to know, you can leave. After hearing this, Renwudi thought about it and suddenly said. I want to ask Mr. Lin a few questions, is that okay? Lin Yi looked at Renwudi in front of him, I'm a jack of all trades here, I can fulfill any wish you want to fulfill, any information you want to get, you have to pay the corresponding price. These prices can be talents, life, souls, knowledge, or treasures. If you have these things as a price, I can answer your questions. But you have to sign a contract. You can't tell anyone else the information I tell you, otherwise you will die. Lin Yi looked at Ren Wudi expressionlessly. If you agree, you can do business with me. Ren Wudi looked at Lin Yi in front of him, thought for a while and said, you said you can fulfill wishes. Yes, only wishes within my ability. Of course, all wishes must pay the same price as it. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 840. An inexplicable look flashed in Ren Wudi's eyes. Looking at Lin Yi in front of him, he didn't know where the other party had such confidence to say such things. After thinking for a while, something moved in his mind. I want to find my lost team members, rescue them, and then return to where we came from. How much price will I have to pay for this wish? Lin Yi looked at him quietly, thought for a while and said. It depends on what you want to pay for it. Ren Wudi looked at Lin Yi and thought for a moment. He raised his hand and waved, and a dark vortex appeared on the palm of his right hand. A box fell out of it, which seemed to be made of a mysterious substance. The box was as big as a palm, and he looked at it with a look of reluctance in his eyes. This is a mysterious thing that I got by chance. It's so old that it's unimaginable. I don't know when exactly it took shape. But it has power beyond imagination. What power? It has the ability for people to directly control space. Even if it tears apart the world's barrier, it can still be done. Even an ordinary person, as long as he can use this thing, it can become an outsider-level existence. Traveling to unknown worlds. If it hadn't been for my mistake this time, I wouldn't have used this thing. Hearing this, Lin Yi's brows jumped slightly. This thing instantly interested him. Being able to manipulate space at will means that you can use this thing to continuously analyze space and conduct various experiments on your own spatial knowledge. It can speed up the practice of void tribulation. In an instant, Lin Yi found the correct use of this thing, at least for him. At this time, Ren Wudi had opened the item, and inside was a mysterious crystal tablet. It is about 10 centimeters long, 3 centimeters wide, and about 5 millimeters thick. It is densely covered with light spots that look like stars. It seems to contain the beauty of a universe. Looking at this thing, Lin Yi's eyes flashed with the light of his true destiny. He seemed to see endless changes in space, with billions of spaces representing countless light spots. This is an item beyond imagination, and the information contained in it is simply endless. Even if you are a real-life interpreter, you want to observe and understand all the information in this item. It would also take countless years, and it would even be tens of millions of times more than the information on the 5 basic rules contained in the treasures of the universe. This order of magnitude made Lin Yi suddenly realize, the mystery of time and space, the mystery of the soul, may far exceed energy and matter. Although they are also the 5 basic rules that make up the universe. But the information content of each is also different. At this time, Lin Yi has completely mastered the vitality calamity, and is immune to and can control the energy status of all things in the world. Xuanhuan is still in the process of cultivation, and it will take at least several decades to successfully practice it. However, with the source of his true life, he can already achieve a certain degree of material control. In particular, he has the blessing of an innate divine body, as well as hundreds of power systems obtained from Axis, the serpent of destruction. It allowed him to shorten the kalpa of all things that required thousands of years of practice to the current 70 years. He deeply understands the 5 great tribulations of the immortal way, and the difficulty of cultivation is completely different. The mysterious space crystal card in front of him once again verified his conjecture. His eyes fell on Ren Wudi. This crystal plate is worth a lot of money. Are you sure you want to use it as a trading item? Renwudi nodded. I am an outsider level existence myself, with the ability to tear apart the world's barriers. This mysterious space crystal card can make it easier for me to do this kind of thing. But other functions are limited, so even though I feel heartbroken to exchange it, it's not unbearable. The same item has different values in the eyes of different people. Just like the earth before, things like jade and jade are only valuable in China. And once they leave China, foreigners don't care at all, and no one will spend a lot of money to buy things like jade. Jade and jade are, in a sense, a product of the Stone Age. It represents the cultural crystallization formed after the stone tool civilization developed to its extreme. On the earth in his previous life, among the 7 continents and 4 oceans, only ancient China developed the jade civilization. All other civilizations have entered the Bronze Age before they reached the peak of stone culture. The value of items has always been determined by people. Lin Yi looked at the person in front of him, Wu Wei, and smiled slightly. I am very satisfied with this item. It can be used as the price to realize your wish. Sign the contract. As he spoke, a note appeared in his hand. The contents of the contract have been written on the note. The contract floated gently in front of Ren Wuwei. Read the contents of the contract and sign it if you agree. Ren Wudi nodded. Looking at the contents of the contract, he was surprised to find something. That was what was in the contract, and he could completely understand it. Although he didn't recognize the words. But the information in these words appeared in his mind out of thin air. This shocked him, but as a member of the Void Naming Committee, he had already noticed the weirdness of everything. There are a lot of weird items here, gathering a lot of weird aura. He had vaguely realized that the reason why Lin Yi was here was because of these weird items. And he also discovered a strange thing. The weird aura of the Wanchaiwa did not invade and transform him. It was as if the weird erosion power was restricted. He signed his name on the contract. The reason why he wanted Lin Yi to help him realize his wish was not only because he really wanted to find his team members. There was another purpose, which was to have more contact with the mysterious person in front of him. He wanted to find out how this person made the weird power lose this erosion ability. The Void Destiny Committee has been studying weirdness for countless years. But no method has ever been found to perfectly shield the erosion of weirdness. This led to the fact that even if they defeated the weirdness, they could not retake the front line. Because the front line has become an area of weird power, they can only maintain the front line and try to prevent the weirdness from moving forward. But victory is far away, and countless lives are lost on the front line every moment. And the mysterious Eurosway store manager in front of him has attracted his attention. His knowledge has never been low, even though he is just a small captain.